Genesis chapter 26 focuses on the Lord reassuring Isaac. God stated that his relationship with Abraham and its blessings are for Isaac as well in this chapter. God did appear to Isaac twice in this chapter. In fact, in both cases, Jesus restated and emphasized the covenant promises he had made to his father Abraham and is now going to make the same to Isaac. For the majority of this passage, no mention is made of Jacob and Esau. These were children of Isaac. And Rebekah's marital status sort of is obscured. It is very likely that most of this chapter is actually set back before Jacob and Esau were born. Remember, Isaac and Rebekah were childless for 20 years. So leaving plenty of time of these events sort of to occur and take place, as we're going to find out, or as we did study in chapter 25, verses 22, 26. If you missed out the last episode, please pick it up on our website or on our YouTube channel. A season of famine fell upon the land. This is very different from that, that drove Abraham to move to Egypt in Genesis chapter 12. Pick it up on our YouTube channel if you haven't already watched it. In fact, the Lord here appeared unto Isaac. On the contrary, he commanded him not to move to Egypt. Instead, he actually asked him to stay in Gerar. Gerar was this region that belonged to the Philistines. Then it was ruled by the King Abimelech. We'll study about that mostly in verses 1 to 5. So when the locals, that is the people that lived within Gerar, and you could say the neighbors, they saw Isaac's beautiful wife Rebekah, they asked him about her. And he immediately fell and followed in his father's footsteps. And boom, he told them that she was his sister. He was, of course, afraid they would kill him and probably take her from him. This, unfortunately, was the same failure that Abraham made two times. First to the king Pharaoh in chapter 12, and then the second time that was also to King Abimelech. We studied that in earlier chapters. Here now, Isaac is doing the same thing. He's actually making the same mistake, making the same, lying the same lie that his father did many years ago. The lie is revealed when King Abimelech himself, he did catch them, playing, having an intimate time together. There wasn't some sort of a sport. And so he's sort of furious that, why would Isaac lie to him? Why would he bring such guilt about the kingdom? Just as his father, Abraham, had done. Still, the king decreed that anyone who harms Isaac or Rebekah will actually be killed. In other words, he decreed protection. He gave them protection that nothing should happen to them, despite the lie they had lived. God, with his mercies, he did demonstrate that he will protect Isaac as he did protect his father, Abraham. Fearful and faithless or not, God was ready and willing to protect him, even as he did with his father, Abraham. The Lord then blessed Isaac by giving him 100-fold return on his crops in the season of famine. He farmed and he got 100-fold return. In fact, Isaac became so rich and so powerful, that the old disputes about the water rights sort of cropped up. Abimelech sent Isaac away for being much mightier than the Philistines. We'll study that in verses 12 to 16. Wrestled in a different part of Gerar, Isaac continued to have disputes with the locals and the wells, and the wells is digging, for his herds and the flocks, until he eventually decided, what? Let me move back to Beersheba, given its name in Genesis chapter 21 by Abraham himself. Again, if you missed up episode 21, please pick it up on our website. That is www.abdiministries.org. You can also scan the QR code that is on your screen. It has beautiful details about this well and the agreement that his father Abraham made with Abimelech back then. In Beersheba, the Lord, again, he did appear to Isaac. He commanded him not to be afraid, as he was, and renewed his promises with Isaac. And he said he will bless him. He said he's going to multiply his seed, his offsprings, for his father's sake. We'll study that in verses 17 to 24. Isaac responded with worship, building an altar and calling the Lord's name. He also pitched his tent and commanded his servants to begin to dig a well. We'll find that in verses 25. Later on, while he was in Beersheba, he had sort of settled down. He, dug another well. His, life is moving on well. Abimelech came for a visit. Though suspicious at first, Isaac agreed to, King's proposal for a peace treaty between them. Sort of to honor the treaty, Isaac named the well his servants had dug after the word for oath. We'll find that in verses 26 to 33. Finally, the story jumped well into the future. Esau married two Canaanite women. Those are the Hittites, the kind that had sold the cave at Machpelah to Abraham, his father. Those marriages to these two Canaanite women made life so bitter for Isaac and Rebekah. Perhaps Esau, because Esau did not marry from among the Abraham's people in Genesis 34, as we're going to see in verses 34 to 35, is what sort of discomforted and took away the peace from his parents.